Hello everyone, welcome to the next lecture. In today's lecture, we will start with control flow. Whenever we write a Java program, it starts executing line by line. All these statements are executed in the order in which they appear in the program. There are some statements in Java which can change the flow of the program. Such statements which can control the flow of the program are known as control flow statements. In Java, there are three types of control flow statements. First one is conditional statements. These are also known as decision-making statements. Next we have loop statements. These are also known as iterative statements. And last we have jump statements. Let's see each of them one by one. Let us start with conditional statements. Conditional statements or decision-making statements evaluate an expression and based on the result of that expression, decide which of the statement is to be executed. In Java, we have two types of conditional statements. We have if statement and we have switch statement. In if statement, we are given a condition which evaluates to a Boolean value. The value could either be true or false. Based on this Boolean value, we execute the subsequent statements. We can use if in four different ways. The first one is simple if statement. The next one is if else statement. Next we have if else if ladder. And last we have nested if. Let us see each of them one by one. Let us start with simple if statement. So this is the most basic conditional statement. How do we use it? Let us first see its syntax. We have an if keyword. Then we write the condition in parenthesis. Then we have a curly bracket which starts the if block and a closing curly brackets which ends the if block. All the statements written inside this are part of the if block. How does it execute? First we check this condition. If this condition is true, we enter the if block and all these statements are executed. If this condition is false, the control of the program directly jumps out of the if block and comes to the next line which is subsequent to the if block. Let us understand the execution of this with the help of a flowchart. First we check the condition. So if it is true, we execute the statements inside the if block. If it is false, we directly come out of the if block. Now let us see an example of this. So suppose I have a variable a whose value is 5. So now I can use an if block. If a is less than 10, system dot out dot print a system dot out dot print b and outside this if block I have system dot out dot print c. How does this execute? First we have a value as 5. Now we check this condition. The condition a less than 10, a value is 5, 5 less than 10 is true. So we enter the if block. All the statements inside the if block are executed. So in the output we will have A, B. Now the if block is over. C will also get printed in the output. So the output will be A, B, C. Now if we had a greater than 10 in this condition, well, we have a value as 5, 5 greater than 10 becomes false. So this whole if block will get skipped and the control of the program reaches here. So in this case the output will be C. Let's see another example. Suppose I have a less than 10 here and I do not have these curly brackets for denoting if block. In this case, when we do not have the curly brackets which mark the start and end of the if block, only one statement is considered to be part of the if block. If I do not have these brackets, only the next statement after if is considered part of the if block. This is not inside the if block now. Now I have a less than 10, so a value is 5, 5 less than 10 becomes true. This line is still part of the if block, so this will execute, a will be written in output. Now I will come out of the if block, so B and C will also get printed in this case. Let's see one more example. Suppose I have a greater than 10 here. Now I have a value as 5, 5 greater than 10 becomes false, so if block will not get executed. Only this statement is part of if block now, so A will not be printed on screen. This is not part of if block, so B will get printed and C will get printed. So in this case the output will be BC. Next we will see if else statement. Here we have two blocks, if block and else block. So let's see the syntax. We have the keyword if. Along with that we write the condition in parenthesis. Then we have curly bracket marking the start and end of the if block. Then we have the keyword else. We do not have any condition with else. We again have opening and closing brackets denoting the else block. These statements inside the if block gets executed when this condition is true. If this condition is false, the statements given in the else block gets executed. Let's understand this with the help of a flowchart. First we check one condition. Based on the result of this condition, we decide which block to follow, if block or else block. So if this condition is true, we execute all the statements given in the if block. If this condition is false, we execute all the conditions given in the else block and then we come out of the else block. Let's see an example. Suppose I have a variable a whose value is 5. If a less than 10, then I'll start the if block, system dot out dot print a, system dot out dot print b, and close the if block. Then I'll start the else block, system dot out dot print C, system dot out dot print D, and after the else block I have a statement system dot out dot print E. Now let us see how this executes. First we will check this condition, a less than 10. A value is 5, 5 less than 10 becomes true. So we execute all the statements in the if block. So in the output we will have A, B. Now this whole else block will get skipped. The control comes here. So A will also be printed in the output. So in this case we will have the output as A, B and E. Let's see another example. Suppose I have greater than sign here. A equals to 5, A greater than 10, 5 greater than 10 becomes false. So I will skip the if block. I will move into the else block. I will print C and D in the output. Now the control reaches this line. So E will also be printed in the output. So the output in this case will be C, D and E. Now suppose I do not have the brackets with the else block. Now only one line will be considered part of the else block. This is outside the else block now. Now suppose A greater than 10, A is 5, 5 greater than 10 becomes false. So I will come inside the else block. C will get printed. Now I will come outside, D and E will also get printed here. So the output is C, D, E in this case. If I have A less than 10 here, now 5 less than 10 becomes true. So if block will get executed, A and B will be printed in the output. Now the else block will get skipped. So this will not be printed. Now my control comes out. D and E are outside the else block. So D and E will also be printed in the output. So output in this case will be A, B, D, E. Let's see another example. Suppose I do not have these brackets in if block. Now A less than 10 becomes true. If I do not have brackets in the if block, this is considered part of if block. I can have an if block without else block, but I cannot have any else block without if block. In this case, here my conditional statements are over and this statement is not part of the conditional statements. So my if block has ended here. This is not part of the conditional statement. Then I am again having else. So this else will give me an error. This code will not execute. Next we have if else if ladder. Here we have an if condition and it is followed by multiple else if conditions. Let's see the syntax. First we have the keyword if, then we give the condition in parenthesis. Say condition 1. Then I have this if block. Next I can give another condition using else if. Condition 2. And this is the block of else if. Again I can have else if. Condition 3. I can have as many else if blocks as required and in the end I can have an else block. How does this execute? First we check condition 1. If it is true, I enter this if block and all the statements written here are executed. If it is false, the control goes to the next if statement. If this condition is true, I enter this block and all the statements written here are executed. If this condition is also false, then the control goes here and this condition is checked. It continues in the similar fashion until it reaches the else block. If all the conditions given above are false, then the conditions given in the else block are executed. Let's see this with the help of a flowchart. First we evaluate condition 1. If it is true, we execute the block number 1 which is given here. If it is false, we move on to check the next condition. If it is true, we execute the block corresponding to that condition. If it is false, we move on checking the subsequent conditions. If all the conditions are false, then we execute the statements given in the else block. Now what if condition 2 and condition 3 both are true? Which block will be executed? In this case, block 2 will be executed. Whenever a condition is true, I execute that particular block and then the control comes out of the whole ladder. I do not check any subsequent condition. Next type of if statements are nested if statements. Nested means something inside the another. In nested if statements, I can have one type of if statements inside another type of if statements. I can have a simple if statement inside another simple if statement. I can have an if else statement inside another if else statement, or I can have an if else statement inside if else if ladder. So any type of if statement can be written inside another if statements. Next type of conditional statements are switch statements. In switch statement, we can check a variable for equality against multiple values. How can, let's see the syntax. First we write the keyword switch. Then we write expression in parenthesis. Now the value of this expression is checked against multiple values. We start the switch block with curly brackets and end it with closing curly brackets. Inside the switch block, I can have multiple cases. Say case value 1, then a colon. Then we can have some statements. We can have another case value, let's say case value 2. Then the statements below it. We can have as many cases as required, and in the end we can have a default block. So this default is optional. It executes if none of these values match the value of the expression. Let us see this with the help of a flowchart. We check the value of this expression against multiple values given in the case blocks. If the value of the expression matches any value given in the cases, then that particular code block gets executed. If none of the value matches, the default block gets executed. Default is optional here. Let us see an example. Suppose I have a number variable whose value is 2 and I want to switch the variable number. So switch number. Now I can have case 0 system dot out dot print a. Then I can have case 1. The statements written in each case are optional. I can also skip the statements here. So next I have case 2. Here I have another statement. Let's say system dot out dot print b. So then I have case 3 system dot out dot print c, and in the default I can have system dot out dot print d, and I close the switch block. Now let's see the output. The number value here is 2. So in the switch variable I am switching number. So whenever the case value is 2, all the statements below it will get executed. First I have case 0, this does not match. Then I have case 1, this again does not match. Next I have case 2, this matches. Now all the statements below it will get executed. So B will be printed, C will be printed, and D will be printed. So the output in this case will be B, C, D. So all the statements below that case gets executed. The flow of the execution stop either when the switch case is over or whenever they hit a break statement. Suppose I have a break statement here. Now in this case the output will be, the case 0 will not match, case 1 will not match, case 2 will match, so the output will be B, C, then I hit the break statement, so I will come out of the switch block, so output in this case will only be B and C. Suppose I have number is equals to 1 here, even though there are no statements in case 1, but all the statements below it will get executed. So value 1 matches here. Now I will print B, C, and then I will hit the break statement. So in this case the output will be B, C. In switch statements, there are some rules that need to be followed. The first one is these values must have the same data type as this expression. And these values should not be variables. These values should be constants only. The next rule is the case values cannot be duplicated. I cannot have the same case value twice. And the last one is, in these case values, the allowed data types are strings, characters, integers, and the data types which can be converted to integers like short and byte. Let us now try to solve some MCQs based on these concepts.
In the first question, we have to predict the output of the following code. So we have an integer a whose value is 5. Inside the if condition, we are given plus a multiplied by 5 is less than equal to 25. Now in this we are using prefix notation. That means a will be incremented first, then we'll multiply it by 5. So a becomes 6. Now 6 multiplied by 5 less than equal to 25. So this becomes 30 less than equal to 25. This statement becomes false. So the statements inside if will not be executed, the statements inside else will be executed. So by will be printed on the screen. The answer is by. In the next question, we have a variable x initialized to 5. In the if statement, we have x plus plus equal to 5. So x plus plus equal to 5. So we have a postfix notation here, which means that x's value will be increased after it is used. So here we will check 5 equal to 5, and after this value of x will become 6. So the if statement is true, 5 is equal to 5, we will print 5 on the screen. So 5 gets printed on the screen. Now let's check the else if statement. Inside the else if statement, we have plus x equal to 7. So this is a prefix notation, so we will have to increment the value of x before using it. Value of x has been changed to 6 here. Now it will become 7. So x is now equal to 7. So 7 equal to 7 is true. So the condition inside the else if statement is also true. But we will not execute those statements because in a if else if ladder, when the first condition becomes true, the remaining conditions are not even checked. The control flow straight away goes to the end of the ladder. So the answer will be 5 and not 5, 7. The question is, in Java, dash can only check for equality, whereas dash can evaluate any type of Boolean expression. So in switch case, if we remember, we were checking for equality with the various cases that we had made. So switch case can only check for equality. In if conditions, we can give any type of Boolean expressions. So the answer for the first blank is switch, and the answer for the second blank is if. So our answer is switch, if. Let's move on to the next question. Here we have two variables, a and b. Value of a is initialized to 20 and value of b is initialized to 10. So inside the if condition, we have two expressions connected via AND. So the first one is a less than b. So a is 20, so the condition becomes 20 less than value of b is 10. So this becomes false. So if there are various expressions connected through and even one of them becomes false, answer will always be false. So here also, if the first expression is false, we do not have to evaluate the second expression to find out the answer. This is called short circuiting. So value of b does not change. So the condition inside if becomes false and victory point is not printed on the screen. The value of b does not change because the second expression is not evaluated at all. Now in the subsequent statement, we are printing the value of b on the screen. So the answer is 10. In the next question, we have a if statement with the condition 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equal to 5. So if we add all the ones, we get a 5 and the statement becomes 5 equal to 5. This is true, so we'll enter the if block and true will be printed on screen. Now that we have executed the if block, else block will get ignored and the code will terminate. So the answer will be A. Moving on to the next question, we have an integer x initialized to value 7. In this we have a if condition, if x equal to 2, and then we have a semicolon. So 7 equal to 2, the statement becomes false. But we have this semicolon at the end. What does this semicolon do? This tells us that there is no if block. So this is equivalent to writing if x equal to 2, start of block, end of block. So there are no statements inside the if block. These two are equivalent. So in this question, all the statements below the if block will get executed. Firstly, number 7 will be printed on screen, followed by not 7. So number 7, not 7 will be printed on the screen. In the next question, we have two integer variables, x and y. X initialized to 10, y initialized to 0. In the if condition, we have x and y. So we have written x and y. So this is a Boolean operator which takes two Boolean inputs, but x's value is 10. So this is equivalent to writing 10 and 0. So Boolean operators need Boolean operands to function. That is why this will give a compilation error, and our answer is C, compilation error. Moving on to the next question, we have two variables x and y. Value of x is 3 and value of y is 4. So in the switch statement, we have x plus 3. So x is 3, so x plus 3 will be 6. In this we have case 6, case 7 and then a default. This will match with case 6. So what happens after the expression matches a case, all the statements after that get executed until the end of switch statement or until we find a break statement. So in the question we can see that there are no breaks, so all the commands will get executed. So firstly, y will become 0, then y will become 1. After that, we have y plus equal to 1, which increments y by 1. So y becomes 2. The value of y after completion of this code will be 2. Let's move to the next question. In this question, we have a character ch, initialized to value small a. Then we have a switch statement with the expression ch. Now we will match the value of ch with the various cases. So the first case is small a. So our value has matched. Now we will execute all the statements until we find a break or the end of switch case. So we have no statements under case small a. We move on to case capital A. We have just one statement under case capital A, and that is printing the value of ch. So small a gets printed on the screen. After this, we encounter the break statement and we come out of the switch case. So this is the only thing that gets printed on the screen. The output of this code is small a. Moving on to the next question. So in this we have two variables I and j. J is initialized to 1. In the next line, I is also initialized, but here we use a ternary operator to do so. So here we have a condition, j is greater than 1, question mark, 2, colon, 1. So j greater than 1 means 1 greater than 1. So this evaluates to false. In ternary operator, if the condition is false, the second expression gets executed. So this is our second expression. Value of 1 is stored into I. So I gets initialized to 1. In the next line, we have a switch on variable I. So we'll start matching the cases. So case 0 does not match. Case 1 matches. So in case 1, we'll print the value 1 on the screen. So 1 gets printed on the screen. Now we do not hit a break statement, so we'll start executing subsequent lines of code. In the next line, we print 2 on the screen. So 2 gets printed on the screen. Now we hit the break statement and the switch terminates. So the output of the code is 1, 2. Thank you everyone. We'll see you in the next lecture.